Welcome in, Braves Today. BravesToday.com is where you can find us. Braves_today on the Twitter. He's Lindsay Crosby. I'm Ben Taylor. And the month of May belongs to Marcell Ozuna. Only for him to let us down in June, July, and August.
It is exactly who we expected to be having a great May, is Marcell Ozuna.
He owns it.
He lives in Miami still.
And does he really? Yeah, he just got that apartment
in
Atlanta, because whenever they showed the arrest last year, that was where it was, an apartment complex in Atlanta.
So yeah, he lives in Miami still, and he came up with the Marlins and was traded away. And so he's got a little bit, he obviously has a little bit of pride about the whole situation. And so he does really well in that ballpark. And I think the best case scenario is Miami to just take on that contract and take him and let him rake in that ballpark. But if they're not going to do that, at the very least, yes, put him in there as DH for all 3 games and let him continue doing that. Because he picked up he doubled his, he has 7 hits in the last week, which is more than he had in the whole season going.
Well, they had the entire year coming in.
Yeah, it's
coming into the month.
It's ridiculous. He has 11 hits on the season, and 7 of them were in the last week. It's just ridiculous.
He owns the month of May. It's Marcell May. That's what it is. It's Marcell May.
I'm celebrating Marcell May, you guys.
I hope it continues. I really do. In all seriousness, I mean, I know we've completely ripped him a new one, but the Braves saw something in him. That's the whole reason they gave him the $30 million or 30 plus million. And then it's almost like he got his money and he forgot how to hit. And I don't know if that's coming around. I don't know if that was a come to Jerusalem talk that was had in the locker room with someone to him that said, look, you do realize, I know that there's a $30 million bounty on your head, but you're batting less than 100. There's no reason for us to have you. You're costing us money. Even though we're paying you, you're still, people are mad. And I don't know what his options are. I don't think they can send him down. If they do, it's for rehab or something. I don't think he's got, he's at that point in his career where he just has to leave, I guess. And so, but you're right. Miami is not going to pick up that contract. Yeah. If they do, the Braves it's going to be one of those deals where, like in the movie Moneyball, where they're like, yeah, you're not worth $30 million. The Braves are paying you $15 million to play against you. That's how bad they don't like you. And so that would be the conversation that the Marlins would have with him if he were to go down there.
Yeah. And before, I think game 2, Kelly Kroll from Bally Sports talked about, his pregame media availability, and he got very honest with them about he knew that he wasn't playing well and he thought he was better than he had showed. And so maybe this legitimately is a bit of growth and getting back into shape. And if that's the case, we'll take it. We absolutely love it, because when he's hitting, when he's on, you saw what he could do in that Miami series as far as how dangerous he can be. It's just been so hard to get to that this season. And that's the part that frustrates all the Braves fans.
The other frustrating person on the team, who is absolutely the best baseball player in the country right now, or in the world probably, Ronald Acuña, who continues to rake, continues to steal. I tweeted out, and Braves Today Twitter account retweeted it as well, where Buster Olney had that thing where he's got more steals than Major League Baseball clubs do, than entire clubs do. So once he gets on, he's so dangerous. He is totally using the throw over to, the pick off twice move. Pitchers have yet to figure that out with him on the base. He has got that figured out. Make them throw over here, then I get a free run. Regardless of pitch out, he still knows he's going to get a heck of a jump. So he continues to shine. There is a frustrating part of me, we'll get to that in a little bit, where I'm a little bit tired of the drama, because that makes all of our hearts stop as far as fans are concerned.
Yeah, I mean, he's got, I want to say 29 runs now. He's got 15 steals, leads baseball in both those categories. He's getting on. I mean, he already has, I think, 44 or 45 hits on the season. And we're 30, 31 games in. We've talked about it just about every single week now. He sets the tone for the entire game at the very beginning. But you also have situations like you're alluding to where he takes a foul ball off the knee today. And if you're watching at work, or if you're, doing something in the house and it's on and you're not necessarily paying attention, you look up and you see him on the ground. I had to write 2 separate Ronald Acuña Jr. leaves the game with an injury articles in the last like 5 days.
Yes.
And it's getting to be, it's frustrating. I can see how a casual fan would be frustrated by the idea of, is he okay? Is he not okay? And you're always wondering what's the status of Ronald Acuña Jr.
Mm. Well, and I told you the example I use is the last series when he got hit in the shoulder. That didn't look that bad when it happened, but him just rolling around in pain, all in the dirt. We got trainers out. He looks like he's crying the entire time, and you're sitting there going, "This must have really like got him in a bad spot." And you and I thought the worst. We were texting. I was like, he may have broken something. Like something may have just caught him wrong, and in one of those soft spots in your body that is a freak accident,
broken scapula, and
And then the next day, they're like, yeah, he's in the lineup. And he'd never favored it. He looked fine. He got a couple of hits. Everything was great. And then the day when he fouled the ball off, did it look bad? Yes, it did. It didn't touch any of the padding. It went straight from the bat. It didn't like hit the dirt and bounce up and get him. It went straight into the backside of his knee. And again, he falls down. He starts rolling around all over the place. He's got his helmet off. He's got his head in his hands. And I'm sitting there thinking, great. He just hit it into like his anterior cruciate ligament and broke it right here in front of everybody. Because when they showed the replay, I was like, that didn't look good. No. And then he gets up, finishes his bat. And I'm like, what are we doing? But I say that to say this. Because I told you, my comparison is like LeBron doing the flop in basketball. I mean, and I don't want him to get that reputation. He already had to surpass the reputation of some people said he wasn't hustling enough after his rookie season. Right. Then he comes out and he over hustles and he gets himself friggin' hurt by running into walls and diving into the stands and everything else. And so I get he wants to be loved. Just play. Just that's all. Just play. You have the talent. You're the best player in Major League Baseball. So just go out there and play. Yeah. And if he does, the numbers prove that he is number one.
The goal should be post every day. I mean, and Freddie Freeman did that. Dansby Swanson did that. They've passed that on to a lot of these guys. Austin Riley and Matt Olson are trying to be in there every single day. And I think that's more, I mean, Ronald Acuña, when you do get him, you take whatever you can get. But if you had this fully formed and operational, fully armed and operational Ronald Acuña for 162 games, the sky is the limit for what your team can do. And so it is, I understand how lucky we are to have him.
Yes.
I agree that it is frustrating when you question, are we going to have him going forward because of this? So
yeah. He is something to behold. I mean, the other teams, I mean, you've heard, I mentioned to you, San Diego Padres said they've got Tatis on their team, and those guys think he's the best player in baseball. So they're giving props to, a rival team, saying that they have the best player in baseball. Speaking of that and him rolling around in the dirt, injury updates. Where are we on Wright? You and I were talking a little bit earlier today. I really thought it was worse than what it was because you were telling me his velocity didn't drop that much. It just, somebody from the dugout saw something that they knew was not comfortable and yanked him.
Yeah. Pitching coach Kranitz, he came out and he's the one that brought the trainers and initiated everything in the third inning. He said he noticed something in the second inning where it didn't quite look right. And Kyle Wright admitted after the game that no, he didn't quite feel right. He was pushing through it. And then Kranitz came out in the third after, I want to say, 3 consecutive hits opened the inning. Kranitz came out, in essence, brought the trainer and pulled him out of the game. He went on the IL officially with right shoulder inflammation. This is the same shoulder that he had the cortisone injection in January that delayed the start of spring training. It is the same shoulder. And so getting the injection, still having the inflammation tells me that maybe whatever he was dealing with over the offseason didn't actually heal all the way. And the cortisone injection was kind of covering that up. So he's on the IL. He's going to miss at least 2 starts, probably 3 if you think about the timing. Dylan Dodd came up to make a start. Snitker said after the game on Thursday that Dodd's not going to stay in the rotation. That was a spot start. And because of where your off days are, you don't actually need a 5th starter until May 16th in Texas. You have a day off on the 8th. That's Monday. You have another day off on the 11th, which is Thursday. So you have 2 days off next week, whereas we've had some weeks with no days off.
Yes.
And so you can make it for another 2 weeks, essentially, without having to add a starter, which means Raisel Iglesias, who is probably going to be back on this homestand as soon as Friday, he should be able to be active without having to send anybody other than Dylan Dodd out of the bullpen right now, which gives you the ability to have one extra reliever for the next week and a half or 2 weeks.
Which is something that's needed. We'll get to Minter in a little bit. He actually had a fairly decent showing as far as the final game of the series. Darno was in the dugout. He made the trip, which is usually that's sometimes a little unusual when somebody's on the IL. So is that something where if they needed him today, has he been activated? If they needed him today, could he have gone?
He has not been activated yet. He can be activated at any time. And he was talking the other day about this, and he said he was having the sensitivity to light and sound when he moved his head around. His vision would get blurred, the headaches would come and things like that. And as he's been ramping up activity, he's had to deal with every time he's ramped up activity, he'd have a sensitivity where he'd get the headaches and the pain from doing different activities, but then it would go away. And so he's added base running. In essence, he's done everything that he needs to do to get back into game action. They're just waiting for the doctors to clear him, the doctors and a neurologist to clear him. And so I think it's something where he's traveling with the team so that as soon as they clear him, he can be activated and be available the very next day.
Harris also went out with an injury on game 2 of the Marlins series. It looked really bad after he crossed the base. He drug his right foot. That got him tangled up. Then when he tried to plant, you could definitely tell there was a hyperextension there. You didn't know how bad it would be because the look on his face was of shock, like, I've just torn something. Turns out it's a little bit better news than what we thought it would be.
Yeah. And the quote he said after the game was, I was thinking I was going to have to be carried off the field and that was going to be the end of my season. Like that's his exact quote. It's a hyperextension. They did imaging, no ligament damage. He should be available this weekend. According to Brian Snitker, he was available if they needed him out of the dugout on Thursday's game. It probably would have been a pitch hitting thing, and he's probably not playing defense, but he would have been available had they needed him on Thursday. So maybe he sits out the Friday night opener, but I think by the end of the series, you see him back in center field, and he should be fine. He's not going to need an IL stint.
It definitely it made me feel a lot better where Snitker said, if we need him, he can be in there. So that lets me know that he at least is it was not as bad as what we thought it was. So now the Braves 6-up as they lead the division, and they head back to Atlanta, taking on the Orioles. Orioles not a slouch team. They've won 14 of their last 17, dating back to the White Sox series. They had a little rough go to start the season, but after that, it seems like they have settled down and they are playing really good baseball.
Yeah, and the formula for the Orioles is the starting pitching's not great. 2 of their 3 starters for this series have an ERA over 5, but they will just wear you out with base hits, and then their bullpen is one of the best bullpens in baseball. The fielding independent pitching metric, where they take out the effect of the defense and just look at the hits that the pitcher allows. They have the best bullpen fielder independent pitching in all of baseball. It's a very good bullpen at preventing hard contact, preventing base hits, preventing runs from going on the board. So their whole thing is we're going to wear you out. We're going to get into your bullpen. We're going to get a lead, and that bullpen's going to hold it. So Atlanta's going to have to execute their pitches with their starters. They're going to need that extra bullpen depth that you get when you activate Iglesias and send Dodd down. And the offense is going to need to capitalize on their opportunities, because once their starters are out, you're not going to get very many more off of that bullpen.
The good news is for the Bravos, though, is we got Fried and Strider that will take the hill, and then Elder should wrap it up. Weird TV series on Fox on Saturday, on NBC Peacock on Sunday.
And it's weird times as well.
Yes.
It's kind of a standard 7:20 Eastern on Friday. That's Bally Sports Southeast, not Sports South. 7:15 on Saturday on Fox. And then the Peacock game, 11:35 a.m.
I don't get that. Is there a special doublehead or something that's going on NBC Peacock? That's the only thing I can think.
Peacock that's an exclusive window for Peacock. So
Okay.
the rest of the games don't start until I think it's 2 hours or like 95 minutes after that game starts. So that is technically a national window because anybody can pay for Peacock. But
Right.
if you don't have Peacock, it's kind of hard to watch that. But that is a Sunday morning 11:35 game. So it's going to be a rather early wake-up call for the Braves today staff because we've got to do the lineup and the briefing and all of that stuff for it. But it'll be 11:35 a.m. That is Bryce Elder versus Tyler Wells. And then Friday, Max Fried versus Dean Kramer. Kramer's one of those guys I talked about, 6.67 ERA across his starts. And then Kyle Bradish versus Spencer Strider on Saturday, 6.14 ERA for Kyle Bradish across his start. So you get two righties that have been knocked around a bit. And if Atlanta can get a big lead, which we know this team can do that, you have to feel good about your chances in the series.
I'm saying 1-2.
I'm saying 2-1.
Okay.
And it's something where this is, and I'm saying 2-1 because the Orioles have had an easier schedule this year. And they have a lot of guys on this team, a lot of young players on this team, both in their bullpen and position players. And I think the experience of the Braves and just the weirdness of having to play at 11:30 in the morning, having to get up from your hotel. If you're the starting pitcher, if you're Tyler Wells, you're getting up at like 6 a.m. for this game on the road. I think the Braves are going to pull out a 2-1 on this one.
He's Lindsay Crosby. I'm Ben Taylor. Braves Today. BravesToday.com is the best way to find us. You can follow us on the Twitter at Braves_today. Lindsay, as always, I greatly appreciate your time, sir.
Thanks for having me. Chop on.